Welcome to the Enlighten Up podcast, where I am going to take you into a deep exploration of what it means to exist in this current reality. We are going to raise your vibes, open your mind, expand your heart, and dive deep into the wondrous mysteries and possibilities of this lifetime. There's been a spiritual catalyst that has set in motion the awakening process of many across the globe to return to the knowingness of self and unite what has been separated. Together, we're going to bring light into that darkness. We're going to remember the joy of living. But most of all, we're going to turn up the volume of our own eternal power and do the thing we're here to do. Welcome back, everyone, to the Enlighten Up podcast. I hope you're doing well today. I am here after the Labor Day weekend with none other than the most beautiful, gorgeous Scorpio queen, Mary Dusina, to break down the upcoming fantastic lunar eclipse in Pisces. It's a full moon, and who better than to have the gorgeous Mary to break it all down for us. Mary was just telling me off the air how excited she is about this moon. She said it was her second favorite moon of the year. So do tell the audience, Mary, some more about that.
Thank you. Greetings, audience. Greeting to our hostess with the mostest, Nicole. First and foremost, close your eyes, deeply breathe, and just let these words dance upon you as the full moon is waxing. Great Spirit, Holy Spirit, Almighty I am, all that is of love's light. I accept and I bow my knee. I surrender only to the light of the all that is, the light of love and harmony. And under this 12th sign, oceans of emotions, ecstasy of empowerment, as I am both baptized and take communion again at this crossroads point in my life with the light. I choose, receive, and accept, and can then radiate the all that is light frequencies that help me level up in grace, with laughter, in harmony, and overall divine alignment. I give thanks for this eclipse, and I plant my seeds now of thought, word, music, dance, and deed. I accept these things as an agent, as a disciple of the knowing and the truth-seeking and the soul strengthening. That's this full moon.
Oh, well, I mean, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. And I mean, we're coming into a new season. Eclipse season always brings fated change. It's the kind of change you can't run from. It's the kind of change that's going to hunt you down if you're trying to run in the opposite direction. But of course, it's also the change that is meant to pivot you onto your path. It's to help you ultimately. If for some reason maybe you've felt a little astray or you need a little extra boost, that's what these eclipses are definitely here to do for us. And so it's may sometimes hit us in a heavier way at first, but it's absolutely necessary. And I promise you, in the end, you will have wanted it. So with Pisces being the full moon lunar eclipse, Mary, why don't you let the audience know some of the themes that could be coming up for everyone, and that it's a North Node eclipse and why that's important?
Absolutely. Again, with gratitude. What's dancing with this particular year's Pisces full moon at mid-degree, at 15 degrees, is that we're in between two moons in Pisces opposite, therefore polarity, think yin-yang, polarity sign of Virgo. So when we get to that third week of August here in our locations, when we start the celestial dance of Virgo, it's the garden's final sigh of what was seeded at spring equinox, waiting in the Pisces season of late March for winter to be over, and boom, third week of March, here comes the yippee, it's spring equinox in the northern hemisphere. Oh, I'm thinking about the flowers, and I'm thinking about the herbs, and I'm thinking about the sun. Oh, and I can't wait to wear different kinds of clothes, and it's warmer. So, and the days are lengthening. So what's happening is that our first set of eclipses were in March of this year, dancing around that adjustment of Aries to Pisces, and and the Virgoian energy coming in. So right now, the sun, our great star of the Milky Way, is giving us an emphasis in the year of 2025 of Virgo because of two Virgo new moons. And the one that happened in the third week of August this year of 2025, ruled by Mercury, logic over lofty or procrastinating ideas. So the first one that happened was at 0 degrees of the Earth yin magnetic sign of Virgo, saying get your magnets pointed correctly because it's about to come in. And if you're unconscious to the fact of how you're a co-partner of what's being manifested, either through your fears or either through your enhanced faith and gratitude, we're about to give you that soul lesson in the 3D world. Virgo engages our logic, our mind, and on the positive side, we become engineers of optimal, work smarter, not harder, and it helps us understand quicker ways to get it running, amp it up, clean it up, organize it. But it also has to do with being the wild creatures that we are, bringing these mammalian humanoids, with starseed origins and potential many soul walkabouts, according to the Aboriginal energies. We're coming into this energy to where we're saying to ourselves, I can feel it's a release. I can feel it's a reset. I'm craving it. I'm a little bit scared of it. And I will tell you that nothing about two Virgo new moons, the second one coming up right there knocking at the door as we open up right around the autumnal harvest when we get into the Libra energy. When we open that door, it'll be at 29 degrees, which is both the 0 point and the 29th anaretic degree of Virgo. Those degrees, the math of that is 0, the never-ending circle, and 29 in numerology adds to 11, the master teacher, the enhanced lessons learned through harmony rather than baseball bat over the head striking our attention because we're not really understanding yet. We don't see it yet. We don't understand our inherited psychological patterns. Some of the stuff we inherited mentally, this is Virgo, which gets activated by Mercury and the sun, and then that's the south node, and then as Nicole mentioned, the north node, this eclipse at mid-Pisces is right in the midway of the 3 decans of the sign of Pisces mythologically. So it's got to do with the Mer kingdom and our tears for fears or our tears of release and happiness. And it turned out it's more extreme than I thought. Oh, it's better than I thought. Oh my God, I have to say goodbye. I have to bid farewell. I have to let go. This is that moment in my life that the course of knowing that animal, that person, that version of me just got resurrected. And I gotta pause for a minute and decompress and process. And who's going to help me decompress and process and move more purpose and passion into higher gear is going to be our connection of heaven to earth, our Mother Earth, Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn, our elemental kingdoms, the trees and the rocks and the minerals and the creatures, the animal totems, the fire and the air and the water, the streams of water. These are all outer visual. I was talking to one of my tribal brothers this morning, Sagittarius, and we were talking about people often will say of different cultures and faiths, well, I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. Until I see it, I'm not accepting it. I'm testing it, and I don't believe it. And so when you start to switch that, when you begin to look at how it can come into more of a higher level faith factor, instead of a loop of fear or a loop of indecision, can be when you say, what I believe, what God grants us choices, what I choose to believe, what I choose to drive and allow my ego to back up from. What's my driver spiritually? What's my driver psychologically? Is it born from rejection, some of the shadow sides of this Pisces moon, rejection and fear of abandonment, and I was left on my own to figure it out? Or worse, different layers and levels of abuse, or, feeling like that you were Cinderella, you were the black sheep. And it's often the black sheep of the family dynamic that became the rebel with the cause, that became the one that actually got rejected, another one of the Piscean fear factors. But because of their healing from that, quote, familial a guideline of you fell from grace as far as your biological family was concerned, but through those rejections, and sometimes we get rejected by our actions. We become the addicts. We become self-entitled. We test it. We become the liars or the deceivers, whether it's external or we're deceiving ourselves. So the Piscean thing on the plus is to be able to release us from the delusions and fortify the things that we feel are enhancing us and exorcising us from our insecurities, our blockages, well, women are always like this, and this is what always happens to me in relationships, and yeah, you know how it is in society, and my money beliefs are this, and I don't. So it's where we have attempted to find peace of mind, Virgo, and peace of soul, heart, Pisces, by, sometimes we have to reset our course. We have to have a course correction. Are those beliefs that my family taught me as a child that were right and or wrong? Are those beliefs serving me well? Have I grown into those beliefs? And they're not just a hope or a promise anymore. For me, they're now a knowing. And this is just a little quick personal example. For me, it's a knowing. I don't ever have one shred of doubt. If that frequency that introduces itself both energetically, verbally, and psychically, if you will, as Great Spirit, Holy Ghost, I'm there. I bow. I genuflect, as we say in Catholicism. When do you bow? And, like people would bow to kings and queens out of respect and honor of the position of the pharaohs, with the head teachers. So this full moon is also, what are you bowing to, grateful for, paying homage to? What is it that you really trust in your heart and your soul, that no matter what has happened in your life, that take me to the edge of death, wow, that really hurt, damn, that was a hard break, and whoa, I lost a lot on that one. It's that bounce back. It's that Virgoian, one step at a time. I'm processing this. I need to work on my own self psychologically. How's my self-talk? What am I saying to other people? And am I projecting? Am I putting on to other people and external things because I want to avoid the internal work that I have to do at some point? Whenever I choose, God gives us choices. I've circled that right back around. God gives us choices. So will you choose in this Virgo Pisces axis of the cosmic starry exclamation point? Eclipses are two things. They are both the closures that need to happen, and they are also, and now here's your new path on the way to the treasure chest of why you're here and what your purpose is. And so we're going to meet those oracles. We're going to meet those game-changing people right now. The level of who we're putting in the path of, for one of my friends, it started out as medical. Another friend had to go on to something to do with their pet dog keeps getting out. Virgo rules small animals. So there's these, all of a sudden, what, as we say in the country, what in the Sam hell's going on? So it's got to do with these bizarre, that doesn't happen. That's never happened. Damn, this is a game changer. Oh, I almost died. And I keep hearing these stories from tribal brothers and sisters and clients and associates that are saying, I tell you what now, normally August is one of my take some time and play months and fun in the sun. I'm not this year, homie. There's been a whole lot of the older cartoon of Scooby-Doo, and Scooby-Doo is always in the paranormal stuff with their cohort owner. And when Scooby-Doo, which is naturally scared, even though he's a big dog, has that moment of revelation, or like, what was that? There's always that Scooby-Doo noise, which for me works as a musical, melodic way of getting my attention into it. It was, oh, it looks like pause, freeze frame. The old song Freeze Frame in the 90s. So this is about the pause that aligns you, but there is the Virgo work to be done. No matter what your sign is, no matter whether you have strong presence of Virgo or Pisces, the four signs right now, the mutable signs, as they say, if you don't want to use that fancy astrological word that we learn, instead of mutable, you can say changeable. So the four mutable signs of, obviously, where the eclipses and the moons are happening, Virgo and Pisces, then we have the mutable sign of the mind, also ruled by Mercury, Gemini, and Uranus is retrograding there, and I'm going to let Nicole take the ball with that one. And so what's happening is the whole realm of our ideas and the structures of what we cast our faith into, and incredible, brilliant, after a bit of working of the gears to get it right and shift it right, there is some incredible advancing creativity that's just going to fly right on in, like that very first Harry Potter movie. I loved that scene. It became iconic for me when the owls come flying into the Hogwarts school, and the owls are bringing the letters, and they just start levitating in the air. And I'm like, words that dance, words that help us understand fate and chance. That's the
Yeah.
Virgo thing that's going on. And it's going to be very strong into November, very strong into November. For me, the rule that's worked for 30 to 40 decades and working with my own chart as well as people that I encounter is that lunar eclipses minimum. So this is a good time for journaling and writing. Lunar eclipses bloom for 90 days. Look at that like kind of 3-month cycle. And the last time these signs danced in the North and the South node, go back about 18 and a half to 19 years to 2006 into 2007. That's the loop that's coming back around to show you just how much you've graduated or just how much it's time to let go of the old way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if I was talking about this on my All Signs last week,
Good.
that it's very similar things, like what happened to me back in 2006 going into 2007. I was getting ready to leave Canada and move down to the Cayman Islands, and completely change my job and move locations. And I mean, something that I'm going through right now, so it's very similar processes that are you can see the themes. Of course, they're not going to show up exactly the same because you're not in the exact same place anymore. There's new things, but it will really help you to understand like what was happening summer of 2006 into 2007 to kind of give you an idea of like what major changes could be going through, like happening in your life right now. And Mary, you were mentioning with this idea, like eclipses are always here to push us out of our comfort zone, especially North Node eclipses, which is what we have right now,
Yes.
because the North Node is in Pisces and it's very close to the moon. So this is a very strong lunar eclipse. But, the ruler of this, the traditional ruler is Jupiter, and Jupiter's in Cancer,
Yes.
and Jupiter loves to be in Cancer, and Jupiter's making a beautiful trine to this moon. So that's really nice. The only, I think, major shadow element really here is, of course, Mars in Libra
Yep.
is squaring Jupiter. So just so for all of you, how might this come up in your life? What does this mean for you on a personal level? Is that it's going to likely push you out of your comfort zone, maybe from where you've been hiding when it comes to your relationships, when it comes to your boundaries, or possibly even people pleasing, right? So like that's where the pressure is going to really hit from this particular eclipse. And you'll feel it in instances where maybe you say yes when really you just want to say no, or you should say no, right? Or when you bend over backwards to keep the peace, but end up betraying yourself. Like that's where this is going to really kind of come through. So the nice thing though about this, because there is a safety net with this eclipse, and that's that Jupiter trine to the moon, is that it if you choose what actually nourishes you, if you choose what feels aligned and what feeds your soul instead of draining it, the universe is
Yep.
going to meet you halfway. And this is like we titled this full moon Into the Deep because of course Pisces is the deepest water sign, right? But it's more than that. When you're getting pushed outside your comfort zone, sometimes when you have an eclipse, I'm kind of getting like some feedback noise on. I don't know, Mary, you didn't put
Well,
me on
I'm in the
speakerphone.
mountains. I'm in the mountains, and I'm a little higher up in the mountains. Did that help?
Yeah, as long as I'm not on speakerphone.
I don't know. No.
Okay.
But there's different
Yeah.
internet. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I just want to make sure, like, if there's any way of fixing it, then we will. But if not, then we're just going to keep going because we're doing the best we can given like all the circumstances. I mean, I just had to change my camera while you were talking earlier. My camera just started like flashing and buzzing and like overheating, and I'm like, oh my god, what's going on? So I had to change cameras. So hopefully this one will last. But when it comes to this particular full moon, everyone, into the deep, meaning can you allow yourself to surrender? Pisces is truly about letting go, surrendering, and Jupiter too is about having faith, right? And so you kind of are meeting yourself at the edge of your faith and seeing how deep does that faith run for you to allow yourself to be held by the deep waters of Pisces and realize, and this is something I actually learned when I went and lived in the Cayman Islands, is that it's really easy to float in the ocean because it's super salty,
Yep.
right? And so when you really let go, you realize you're held. When you surrender, you realize there is something there to hold you, to guide you, to take you with the current. And that's what's kind of coming up with this full moon, is something is asking you, can you stop fighting it, right? And just let go and let yourself be taken to maybe where it's uncomfortable, but find out where that actually leads you.
That's so well. That's so easy to follow along those paragraphs. I again urge you, audience, maybe on a replay, if you're not doing it like I would be right now, is like really jot down the choice of words that you're hearing from Nicole and I. Which ones seem to make you go, oh boy, I want to go back and hear that again, or pause that. Oh, that got me. They're like, instead of hooks, they're like little electromagnetic sparkles that happen. Like there's fireworks, and for the people that like the boom booms and the loud noise and the colors. And then there's the people like me that loved running in the woods with the sparklers. It's like, unless you got your fingers too close to where all that residue was, you weren't going to get burned. And it was just like, I felt like I was running with stars. It was just running with stars and a child in the mountains and fireflies. When in the mountains here, when the lightning bugs, as we call them, or the fireflies come alive, it's like, oh, that's so magical around midsummers in the Tennessee, North Carolina area. So this has a lot to do. Let's use the symbol like she was talking about with Jupiter and Cancer, and Jupiter being the overarching governor, ruler, Jupiter being Zeus in Greek and Roman mythology, the hotshot, headshot, god, of all the Greek gods and the Roman gods in mythological legend and lore. So what this is saying is Jupiter is saying, I call the shots of whether I want to send Mercury out as my messenger or Aphrodite, Venus, over here to soften up the moment because I'm feeling a little curmudgeon-y, like the crab, where it's right now, or maybe I want to send a lightning bolt through Uranus or Uranus, however you want to sound that, or I need a little more light, so the sun will do that with the great star, or maybe I'll just let them figure it out themselves because all 12 options are available. So what's happening with this is that square that Nicole was beginning to talk about. Now let's talk about 3 other signs right before the next new moon, right around that September 19th into, and then we're going to talk about some numerology real quick, the 19th into that 22nd. Mars in Libra will form an opposition to, near Chiron, not so much by mathematical degree, let's not get to Gemini, Virgo, but by sign, Mars gets close enough to Chiron, which is also like a key symbol in astrology, in the language of astrology, and it represents the wounded healer. And Chiron was one of the centaurs that struck a deal with, whether it was the Greek or the Roman gods, forgive me, go research it yourself, figure it out. Oh, and journal it, write it down. And so what happens is Chiron can heal others, but his own wound never heals. But he's able to be, because of the wounds, because of the trials and tribulations. And the centaurs were kind of Sagittarius-y because they were half human, half horse. So there was a lot of horsepower. And to Nicole's point about the deep and why she entitled this podcast using that word, when you're a little kid, you'll hear from one of those relatives, younger or older, okay, there's the kiddie end, and there's the middle part where the rope is in the community pool, and then there's the deep end. And you can go off on the high dive, or you can go on the low dive where you kind of feel more like showing off and jumping in because the water's closer. But if you're at that big public pool or the big swimming type of dynamic on the cruise ship, Pisces, on the ocean, Pisces, and the Cancer, the crabs on the shore at the sea, crab legs, people like to eat that a lot in those beachy places. So what's happening right now is there's a tropical wave. There's a tropical wave. And the signs right now that are got a lot of illumination on them are the Earth Maiden gathering up the final fruits of the gardens as she prepares for autumnal equinox and the fire dance of the leaves on the antenna trees. But now what we've got going on is Mars in Libra, who wants to do the soft way and wants to do the mediation in the peaceful way, the way of the peaceful warrior. And then we've got that kind of opposition with the wounded healer, like what could trigger us? And let's not be, you can question something, and if somebody fires back and says, well, you're being too critical, it's like, well, I don't think so, because I really know how sharp it can be if I get sarcastic or critical. maybe I'm wanting a little more analysis, but you know what? I will listen to what you said because it matters, and I will self-correct. But when I get a knowing that I'm not criticizing, so because sometimes people will use that as deflective. So right now what's happening is the Libra wants to negotiate, the Aries wants it to be the way that it is, the way that they see it oftentimes. And so that's where there can be a tug of war, or some words that probably could have been held back and analyzed before they flew out of your mouth, the way the letters form because they cast a spell. And then we have that element of Jupiter and Cancer that Nicole was talking about. Let us look at the other feminine factor that's going on beside the Madonna, the Virgin Maiden, the harvest, the innocent maiden, that whole archetype of the innocent young maiden that is working out in the fields, wanting to learn the lessons and the graduations of life. And then we've got this other energy coming in of Libra, which that sign, when it happens every year, has to do, it's the equinox that has to do with, and now we're bringing it into balance, because Libra doesn't have a bull like the Taurus, or a ram like the Aries, or the crab or the fish or the scorpion. It's the scales of justice. With the sword raised high, justice is blindfolded because she's what? She's looking within, and she's allowing her discernment to be the gears that engineer the actual decision to either prosecute or defend, and the final judgment. This tarot card that's going on right now for this eclipse is definitely in the major triumphs, and the major trumps the moon, not just because it's a full moon, because 2025 adds to a numerological 9 year when you add all those numbers horizontally. Did I tell you before about writing and journaling? So 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 ends up being a 9. September is the 9th month in this year. Anything added to 9, eventually when you bring it down to one digit, equals itself. So we've got the 9 of 2025 plus September is the 9th month in the year, and add those together and it's an 18. Oh yeah, look at that, it adds to 9. So 9 is about when it is that sweet spot that I will forever remember this moment of marriage, this moment of death, this moment of this dog leaving my life, this moment of this cat coming into my life, the moment that they went to college, the moment that they passed away, the moment that I met you. So there's these monumental moments. There's, we go on and we do our life and we make our money and we love who we love, and we just kind of go on and kind of look for interesting things and get bored a lot. And that's when we start to have more stark lessons. Yeah, I don't get bored. I'm more appreciative. I don't need the shock. I don't need the shock waves. So it has to do with the Libra seeking the peace, and we've got that coming up. And the main signs involved in that third week of September become, with that Mars and Jupiter and Chiron thing that Nicole and I are talking about, now the spotlight shifts onto the work that needs to be done for Aries and Libra and Cancer and Capricorn. You 4 signs, your life is going to light up in a way where you're on the edge, at the deep end, really seeing the mechanics of how that's going to work for you, and how something or someone has served a good purpose in your life. Even if it's been challenging, you still grew. And Nicole knows I've said this, and I've said it on my other podcasts, whether I'm a guest or a co-host. We can either let the overarching effect make us bitter, or we can allow it to make us better. We rise to the top. There's undertow, there's tidal waves. Last year in September at the full moon eclipse, there was something called Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, and it kicked some locations ass. And it was physical devastation of property in North Carolina and Tennessee and Florida. And I have clients and friends in all those places. Those are places I've called home. And to know some of those areas personally and go, yeah, that's something right there. I'm still studying that, as far as the supernatural versus the mechanical. And I watched how the compassion came up in people. I watched people in the Tennessee area where I like to loftily hang out, and North Carolina. I watched people when, let's just say, in my area, it wasn't a rumor, it was true, that FEMA was blocking some things with planes and boats and stuff, and the people got in their trucks, and the churches got the boxes, and the neighbors got together, and they packed their grills, and I saw physical eyes, boots on the ground, relief by community and neighbors, and everybody joined together in the unification of that cause. So I'll give you another quick example. Pisces can rule a hospital. Pisces is it's a hospital, it's a prison. Pisces is anything that has to do with, something kind of unusual or unexpected got you here. Like even if you're planning to have a baby, whenever that labor comes or that water breaks or it's going to be a C-section or a natural delivery, that's like a Scooby-Doo moment. And so, yeah, you know you're going to have a baby, but then there's like, it's tick, 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 Virgo, tick, tick, getting closer to like the here we go, I'm committed to the ride. So there's an energetic signature right now that's saying to us, something may have landed your ass in the hospital. You broke a finger, you did cancel, you got in an altercation, you got really scared by some kind of creep in public, or there was an almost accident, or someone that you know went through some kind of a breakthrough in their life, and they suddenly got waylaid, and as independent and as strong as they are, they're rushing to the aid of a friend that got taken to a Nashville hospital. They're driving a car. They're altering their schedules in an ultimate permission granted sacrifice that's my tribal sister, that's my tribal brother, bet your ass. I'll be a strong point in that medicine wheel of recovery or release, whatever they choose to do. And the strongest person that you'll ever get the blessing way of having in your life is that mentor, that teacher, that comrade, that tribal brother or sister that will tell you the truth so they don't have to score points with you. And if they had to take you through the birth or the death, they're strong enough to do it. And that, my loves, takes a dedicated lifetime of work, and probably a few other walkabout, past lives, whatever you want to call it, multidimensional do-die-dee. I'm wedded over here and I died over there and I transformed over here. This eclipse, to me, what my guides are telling me is this is simultaneously a baptism and a resurrection, a baptism and a communion. So it's what will you put in that cup? And the moon is about the moon in lore and legend, and the moon in the tarot has a lot to do with that. 18 has a lot to do with the one, I am that I am, and the 8, the infinity. I like to call the infinity symbol, that figure 8 on its side, I like to call the infinity symbol a halo with an intersection. And so in the intersection, we are completely neutral. It is what it is. I am that I am. I bow. I surrender to what? To what? So this is about what is it that you choose to pledge allegiance to. And I'm not talking political or country. I'm talking about no matter where the heck you live on the Mother Earth until you're out of here, no matter where you go in your dreams and your ceremonies, what do you choose as your ally, your mentors, your encouragers, your soul cheerleaders, and how do you discern? Have you done some work lately on getting past the scattered thoughts and the monkey mind and saying, no, I don't have it all figured out. Damn, this is some kind of chaotic crisis and I don't have any control of it. That's scary. This is primal. I'm episodic right now. I have to surrender because I can't be, that normal one that goes and fixes it or takes care of it or micromanages it. So this is about the hospital. There's a difference between people that choose to be hospitable, hospice workers, very Piscean, because there's a huge spiritual component in that, and grief. And those that choose to be the Virgos, when you walk into the hospital, the lady at the desk at the emergency room, the person that's taking your vitals, the triage, all the workers that rush to get the CT scan and get you stable, that's the Virgo mechanics and gears and drivers and what's shifting in order to get you as comfortable as they can when they're walking in with, a Pisces mystery in the ER room with what do we got coming in? What are the symptoms? What's this? What's that? And the other person is just wailing in pain. When you witness that, when you get in that, you realize that all that stuff you thought you had to organize at home and that lunch and that this and that business thing, if you left the planet tomorrow, you know what? It's still going to go on with you or somebody else. And if you leave the planet, it don't matter. So since the beginning of August, since that Augusty Leo time, I have noticed, probably because of Pluto being in Aquarius, I have noticed that there is such an intensity, antenna, amplifier. We're like in a soul rock concert, like literally our soul is getting rocked for us to say, am I going to let myself collapse emotionally and mentally because I keep feeling like my fear factors and my past and the abuses are trying to get a lasso around me again. My will has got to just not just be me, who I am this lifetime. My will that I learned on earth, my will has got to be anchored, and it's got to be in what you know is your lighthouse of the soul in any type of earthly storm, any and all type of tidal waves that hit your mind. You didn't inherit all of that stuff that affected every one of us in a greater or lesser way. This is about liberation. This is about resurrection. By the 19th to the 23rd of September, when we come into that second eclipse in Virgo, this being the blood moon, lunar eclipse of the moon in Pisces at mid-degree, when we get to that other new moon eclipse that comes up in that time period, the 19th to the 23rd, got to give it a few days on either side of these new moons and these full moons, especially when it's an eclipse. Solar eclipses, by the way, the one that happens in the third week of September at that 29 degrees of Virgo, solar eclipses, astrologers differ on this, and it's fine because they're watching how they are as astrologers in their work and their practice. For me, the solar eclipse, and I absolutely have no right nor will tell another astrologer how to do it. For me, this solar eclipse that launches the final of the year of 2025 at the 29th, powerful 11 in numerology, master teacher, master student revelations, when that happens in the third week of September, it takes us minimally to March of 2026. So this is, what would you willingly, if you could let something that has haunted you and you keep it to yourself, and it's been overwhelming, it's been crippling, it's been a stress factor that's gone from a 1 to a 10 all throughout your life, or at least for a very long time, if you could just have the faith of the best of Virgo and the best of Pisces and your connection with the I am that I am. This is the full moon that completes an entire lunar sign cycle. This is the full moon in Pisces. This is the harvest moon for 2025. The next full moon we get starts the next 12 months. The zodiac starts over again. So where you're in the northern hemisphere, spring is the real beginning of the new year. Well, we have a lunar zodiacal year too, a cosmic rebirth for the moon, for grandmother moon. You know, and our wise women, our medicine women, and our medicine men, grandmother moon, she starts over when she starts at the full moon in the first sign of the zodiacal order, which is Aries. The end sign, the last sign, is the 12th sign, which is Pisces. So everything that you wish to ask of your angels, of the risen Christ, of your Buddhist precepts, of the cultural things that bless you, of the great I am, of the Holy Ghost, Great Spirit, Holy Spirit, thank you for my graduation. Thank you that I now know that if I'll just bow and release and allow and dedicate myself as a disciple of love's light, if I will just pause for the cause before I let my mind take over, before I feel the stress in my Virgo digestion, solar plexus area, where women grow the embryonic womb. If I can just pause for a minute and not overthink it and not have to overanalyze it, or certainly I'm trying to get antsy because I don't want the fears to take any kind of seed root in this situation. I don't feel like I know the best path to do, or I do it and I'm committed to the best of it for me or myself or anyone else that I care about. This is about us individually now saying, I will bow to the higher, better good of the best, better version of myself, only under the control of the divine all that is, only as my director, to be the great I am, the I am that I am. And so this is a moment, kind of the Garden of Eden. This is kind of like we're entering into a new garden, Virgo. There's all kinds of spiritual possibilities. Pisces, there are the sacred tree of this full moon is the fig tree. Adam and Eve were depicted with the fig leaves to cover their gender identity, or that type of reproductive area of the body. And we have the fig mentioned many times throughout the ancient writings of the Greek and the Aramaic Bible. And it has a lot to do with how with the fig, the fruit grows in a different way than most types of fruits. As a matter of fact, there's a very specific wasp, female wasp, that enters in. If she doesn't enter the fig, and most of the time she doesn't, it's a sacrifice. Pisces is also a sacrifice. So if I sacrifice the old version of myself, so the wasp goes into the inside of the fig and she lays her eggs, and sometimes her wings dissolve, and if that happens, she gives her life, although she grants life, and that's what actually propagates and makes the magical healing components and the energies of the fig. So the fig, you can look at that with the word dance. How is it that we figurally figure it out? What are we figuring? How are we ciphering or figuring or analyzing or deducting? And the higher levels of that is what? Faith and discernment. Where it says in many different types of spiritual cultures, test the spirits, test the essence, feel the energy. No matter what someone's words are, how is your knowing about them or that? Sometimes we just are quiet and we bear witness because it's just the spin of life going around us, and we have interesting webs that we weave, and the tangled webs that we weave. So this is about allowing your past hurts, your past rejections, your past, if I knew then what I knew now, stop condemning, stop being self-critical or in self-doubt, and at the same time, check your ego at the door. I'm talking about some divine energy here. I'm talking about, when you go into any kind of karate dojo or martial arts dojo, you bow as you go in. So it's got to do with, we bow our heads to pray. We hold our hands up to the sky when we feel the glory of the answer or the answer giving, no matter what it is, when we pray or we meditate. We come out of the plant medicine, Virgo, herbs, flowers, oils, trees, Mother Nature's creatures as totem messengers for you. I am one of the most strong points of Virgo in my chart. I'm so grateful that I came in this lifetime with the gift that I automatically can communicate with wild animals. And we just do. We don't need to look at each other. We don't have to have an emotional attachment. But I read them, they get it, it works. So I've worked with it with cats and rescue dogs my whole life. So I'm so grateful that I was gifted a little bit more of a measure that makes my life easier and sweeter for others and myself, that I can do what I do with animals. And that's also why I further developed taking Reiki. Yeah, I invested the time and the money because what is this Japanese Reiki, Usui Reiki? Oh, okay. So why wouldn't I take that class, invest in that teacher, bless that coach of the ancient teachings? Like when we do the seminars and we do the ceremonies, we're actually allowing our vulnerability to kind of go on the shelf and say, okay, I'll do this and I'm not doing that. I don't care if they do it. I want to do it this way and that way without controlling the room. May I speak to the leader of the ceremony or the medicine man or woman? May I ask if this is okay? Because I don't want to do anything to disrupt the ceremony, but is it okay if I have my questions or my fears? Yeah, a good life medicine man or woman is going to say, absolutely, let's do this before you get to the circle, though. Ask away. So it has to do with, what are we asking? And what are we ready? What are we ready to, keyword, richly receive? Because this full moon, although it's got extreme life or death possibilities of escapes, and boy, that was a close one. Whoa! Look what had happened if I'd have gone there like I was going to do, and I lost my keys and I got delayed. If we let the supernatural source of light take the reins right now, that pause for the cause that I told you that I personally do. I don't care if I'm driving a car, I'm in a traffic light, pull over in a parking lot, whatever. When I want to take that pause after I've called in the great I am, the great Holy Ghost, for me, it's just for me, I simply do 3 deep breaths, soul, mind, body, connected to spirit. There's my triangle, there's my pyramid. And I simply just sit there and say, Holy Spirit, breathe me. Holy Ghost, breathe me. I am one with the all that is, and I accept the highest good. I receive the blessings. Thank you, without pain, that you show me how not to interfere or eclipse my own self. Eclipses are exclamation points. And to simplify it all, I would say to you, what can you let go now? What can you work with the colors of Virgo, the indigo, the teal, the silvery light of the moon, the light silver grays, the Piscean colors, lavenders, violets, the oceanic blues, the white caps on the waters. What can you work with, whether you are comfortable working with the laying on of hands or Reiki or music or sound? Are you meditating? What soothes you right now? It's not always going to be a certain type of music. Find what soothes you. Put boundaries on whoever or whatever or wherever. And you know this. No one needs to tell you this. Sometimes we like confirmation and validation, but where or what is literally draining you, even if it's your own behaviors. By the way, we do again. What is it that you are putting that's productive out in the world and producing compassion where there was once grief or loss? We're all being called at this time, as it comes up around us or if it gets our attention, to be the willing vessels and agents, shielded and protected by holy light, sacred purpose, that we are to be kind of light points on earth right now to help people through a psychological saga, a mental fear or stress, and be encouragers. Let them vent, but stop and say, do you realize what you've already gone through? Can I just kind of point out? And I'm not talking about BS, flowery words, because people see through that stuff. But just really look at them and say, okay, so I took this ride with you in that relationship breakup or that wreck or that health crisis or that death of someone that was near and dear to you. Do you mind if I give you, not just off the top of my head, 3 points of the power and the strength as iconic and as life-changing as it was that I watched come out of you? That had to be some kind of core faith, willpower, strength, something, because it got my attention. I remember it. Do you? You can get people to a point of power instead of them automatically, even if they stay quiet about it, running again and again in the monkey mind and the mind chatter, the things that did hurt, the things that did go wrong, the things they have lost. And, oh my God, are they outweighing the things that I like about my life right now? And will I ever be happy with that or them or, that?
Well, on that point that you mentioned there about how, obviously, who doesn't love a good synchronicity or a sign for validation of whatever? But I feel like, too, with Saturn now rolling back into Pisces, so Saturn's back in Pisces with the moon in the North Node during this eclipse. This is also a time where, because Saturn's is going back in there for one last dip, okay, until February next year, where this is where you really have to clean up your Pisces house, okay? You got to get things in order. You got to do what needs to get done. If there's anything that you miss, this is where you get it done. And sometimes with the Virgo South Node being there, we get obsessed with needing 15 different signs in order to make the move, right? To do the thing that we feel like, I feel like this is what I should do, but I don't know, is it the right time, or is it the right place, or is it the right person, or is it, the right job, or like whatever it might be. And you can kind of get stuck in analysis paralysis, right? And needing all of these like outside reasons to surrender. And this full moon is saying, maybe it's time to let go of needing all of those signs and just take the leap of faith and just do the damn thing. Because Saturn in Pisces, when it gets back into Aries, like, you've really got to have your spiritual ducks in a row. Okay. This is where all of the things that perhaps you may have spiritually bypassed, the things you say, well, I can do it tomorrow, I'll do it next week. I really want to change my purpose, or I want to change my job, or I want to make this move or do that move, but I don't know, I'm not ready yet. It's not the right time. Maybe I just need one more sign, like you come up with all these reasons to wait. And it's just, this isn't the time to wait anymore. You have to step forward and allow yourself to be held in those Piscean waters of surrender. Okay. See where the current is going to take you. See where the universe wants to have you show up more. Because again, remember, this eclipse is designed to push you outside of your comfort zone. If you are still comfortable during this full moon, you're doing it wrong. Okay. Like it's meant to feel uncomfortable. That doesn't mean it has to be bad. Okay.
That's
but
right.
It might be a little scary. It might be like, I don't know, but that's fine. That's what this full moon eclipse is designed to do. And Saturn is kind of coming in there as, just the general who just wants to make sure, like, okay, listen, I'm moving into Aries next year for good for the next couple of years. And that's where everything that you've talked about, meditated on, done in your healing journey, you are going to have to actually step into the fire now. You have to show up in that way. Like your identity of who you are has to be solidified. Okay. Or else it's going to cause even more issues that are going to slow you down and you're going to have more struggles, right? Saturn isn't there to make life hard. Saturn's there to help you out so that you don't struggle more, because Saturn will reward you for the growth that you say yes to. And again, especially at this time, it's going to feel uncomfortable. So if you are feeling a little uneasy, if you are feeling a little scared, a little timid, but you're still taking the leap anyway, good for you. That's exactly where you want to be in this eclipse. Now, that doesn't mean be reckless, okay? Because that is an issue with the Mars square Jupiter. You don't want to be reckless. You don't want to be haphazardly going through things, but definitely take a leap of faith and see where it's going to take you during this eclipse, because Pisces represents your imagination. Pisces represents your dreams. Whenever I think of Pisces, I see the Nine of Cups tarot card, right? It's like, what are your wishes? What do you desire? What is it that you want? Are you actually fulfilling them? And maybe in your Virgo house, where the South Node is and the Sun and Mercury, means maybe you have to restructure your routines. Maybe some of the routines you've been doing aren't working anymore. Maybe there's some things you have to rethink, your ideas of the way you perceive things, the way you're looking at your day to day, right? That aren't actually allowing you to fulfill the dreams that you want. So this eclipse is kind of saying, hey, maybe it's time to let go of some of those things that hold you back and keep you comfortable doing the same thing over and over and over again on repeat. Very Virgo energy, which again, if it's helping you, it's good, right? You want those routines. You want that repetition, because that just means you get better and better. But if you're stalled out, if you're not moving forward and you're staying where you're comfortable, this eclipse is coming in to break all of that up for you right now. So think about what are your bigger dreams, the things that you imagine in your meditation, when you're doing your manifestation, when you're thinking about all the things that would be wish fulfillment for this lifetime. Saturn is coming back into Pisces to help you out there, to ground it, to get it anchored into this reality, and so that you show up as the person who's actually ready to live those things, not the person who's hiding from it. And so this full moon is going to be really great. It's got a laws of positivity. One other aspect that I think I love, I know it's not big with every astrologer, but I love Black Moon Lilith. She's just like, she's in my 12th house and she's in my Gemini. And I find with all of the healing work and all of the things that I've done, the Black Moon Lilith part of our charts, I just find it's like an awakening. It's a liberator. It's got a little bit of that Uranus energy, but from the dark feminine, the parts of you that have felt repressed, the parts of you that have felt suppressed, the parts of you that say, I don't want to go with this system. It's not my system. It's everyone else's system. I want to do it my way. All of these things where you get to like tap into that sacred sexual energy, start channeling it into your work, channeling it into your daily to day, where you can take the mystical and infuse it into your mundane. So your mundane is no longer mundane. It does become the mystical in form. So this is where like the Black Moon Lilith is trying this full moon in Pisces as well from Scorpio. And so there is like this really nice essence that's kind of calling you like, hey, go deeper into the parts of you that you think aren't allowed. Go deeper into the parts of you that you think you're not ready to show up at, that you're going to be too much for people. You're going to be too much for this area of your life. And like allow it to get some breathing room. Let it breathe. Let it like come to the surface and see what wants to show up there. Because I feel like that is in major alignment with this particular full moon eclipse as well.
And okay, I hope you were taking notes and journaling again. Did I say that about 3 other times? Okay, to add to what Nicole just gave you, really good intellectual, intuitive medicine ways, the way she bloomed that out for you, and took you on little paths. The specifics of how that's going to bloom with what she was talking about with the South Node and the Virgoian arrow that flies in the target of our illumination and understanding, Mercury in Virgo, in Cazimi, or joining forces with the Sun between 18 and 15 degrees of Virgo, and the North Node is going to bloom. So we kind of get a course correction without there needing to be shock in a 3D way. I'm all about the splendor, shock, and awe. Like, religious texts talk about, I'll take me some burning bush that doesn't burn and says to me, take your shoes off for you're standing on holy ground. See, I like that Pisces kind of stuff. And so the time frame of like the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th of September, depending on our different time zones, that's when that Mercury Cazimi, or Mercury, kisses the face of the Sun. And the South Node says, here, I love you. I'm your ascended teachers in spirit. I'm your ancestors. I'm the people that are in your culture of the Gaelic or the Germanic or the starseeds or whatever it is, or your multidimensionality, and here's some new tools. So I want you to look at not just that you would go out, although I probably will, and buy one of those inexpensive scratch and sniff, I call them, lottery tickets. Yeah. So a really good time to do that is when Mercury, because remember, it's kicking Uranus and Gemini, sudden, unexpected yippies. And it's also influencing the 2 new moons that we've got going on here. And Neptune rules also, has a Neptune, Poseidon, king of the oceans, king of the sea, SEA, SEE, is saying in the mid-month of September, right before Mars flips into Scorpio on our time zones between like the 20th and the 22nd, your dreams at first, with all this Piscean sky ocean energy, our tears and the way we release toxins, and Virgo being digestion, and Pisces being what we walk forward into or what we want to run away from, feet, Pisces. What's beneath us? Where do we feel grounded? What do they talk about in grounding? Put your bare feet on the ground and stand in the sun for 15 minutes every day, even when it gets cold and you get bundled up, because that gives you natural D3 hormone reset. So there's herbal, there's holistic, there's the blend of naturopathic Virgo and allopathic. Well, actually, it can be both. I think allopathic can be Virgo Pisces, and I believe that naturopathic can be Virgo Pisces. Met a lot of Pisces and Virgos in both the medical field that I work with, counseling field, and also in the holistic herbal stores and all that. A lot of powerful Virgos and Libras and in Aquarius and Pisces, because they're cuspy type of energies. So there's a blooming that's happening for all of us, and it's looking within. It's seeing within, the seer that's willing to go within, the IN-tuition, going into our inner schooling, our inner knowing. And so there may be some blurred lines. There may be some warning signs. Warning, alert, road closed, detour ahead. There could be all of that literally happens to us. But it has to do with our feet are going to walk us away from that which we reject, that which we should reject, that which rejects us. And it's going to let us release the need for, as Nicole spoke about earlier in this podcast, are we willing to even look at, instead of just criticize or complain externally, are we willing to even look at, I've met a lot of people, and it's interesting that I keep kind of attracting that type of lesson or that kind of friendship or that kind of partnership, and the agendas that seem to be attached to it. And I seem to get in the archetype of this or play the role of this. And maybe it's okay if I look at the polarity or the balance of that. So if you're a strong, independent person, it's a little more difficult, or let me cancel. It's a little more new or unfamiliar to be able to become the open, vulnerable one.
Yeah.
To trust your heart, because our Earth is a school. Just my little humble opinion. Earth is a school, and we're going to go through all kinds of graduations. Sometimes we have to repeat a grade. Sometimes, we don't like the teacher. Sometimes we get bullied. Hope to God you're not the bully. But we go through these episodes and these lessons in order for us to close the chapter, start a new book. We used to call it, a new grade in school. But what we have right now is we're pirates. We're the winches and the pirates on the oceans of possibilities. And we're not just X marks the spot looking for a treasure chest of gold. In Earth life, we kind of look at that as like, oh my God, the things I have to pay for, the things I'd like to do. Once I pay all my responsibilities and my bills, what would I do if all those got paid, what would I do differently? And as Nicole said, we can get locked into a pattern like, well, if I didn't have this job, then I really wouldn't have the money to do anything. I mean, I must be, Virgo, responsible, and I want, if I have to be dedicated to the things that I make commitment to. Your word is either your magic wand or it's meaningless. So with Mars going into Scorpio, it has a lot to do. We're going to see when we get from mid-September, and it's not just the fall equinox and all that, we're going to see the people that learned different, knew it was wrong, and decided to keep amping up the energy of wrongdoing and beguiling and bewitching and ripping off and lying and becoming a tick and an energy vampire, because it's just like, damn, I'm going to grab mine. I don't care about it. It's mentioned in all kinds of ancient cultures, the high way or the low way. And so there's going to be an energy, a comeuppance, if you will, and a greater liberation to where we don't have to be the executioner, that we don't have to say, okay, that's it, snap my fingers, farewell, get out, bye-bye, Felicia. So there's an energy that's churning right now that's saying, turn that mirror inward. And where do you want to say bye, Felicia, to that part of yourself that kind of maybe disappoints you, or that you feel like you're still too shy to let out, or you don't trust, or, to thine own self be true. When you start to get Virgo and Pisces and Mars going into Scorpio, we got a bunch of other little arrows and things. That whole water dynamic is, oh, ye of little faith. Take off your shoes. You're standing on holy ground there, Moses. And all things are possible if we can shift into frequencies of compassion with discernment, just going out there and trying to people please everybody and become an empathic person that just falls on the ground because everybody keeps taking from you and expecting from you. I didn't say that. I'm talking about discernment, that when you have a knowing that it's right to lean in, or it's right to just do that much and a little bit of percentage, you're actually being unselfish because you're encouraging their own ability to grasp it, receive it, and grow. So we're right now in a cycle that our toolbox now is giving us new tools of divine discernment.
Yeah. And I think too, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't this the last eclipse for Pisces? I know we have a few more in Virgo. Virgo's got like 5 and Pisces has 3.
I don't know that offhand. I'm not the one that fills in the blank. I don't think Pisces would be finished yet. I think the cycle bounces into 2026. I will check that. Nicole and I will answer that, by the way. We will answer that when we get to the new lunar cycle of the full moon in Aries. Nicole has posed the question. She and I will both research it. And that's obviously, thank you, Spirit, something that we will help teach you next month.
I'm just wondering if the node is just too far away from the moon when we get into Pisces season for the new moon.
Yeah, I traveled without those reference books for 2026, 2027. So yeah, I won't have that with me right now because I'm out of town.
But take advantage of this moon. And before we jump into all signs, which we will do next, I just want to say hello to everyone in the live chat. Miss Little, Miss Bowers, Carolyn, Kitty Herbs, Stacy, Linda, and MJ. Thank you so much for being in the chat. And of course, if anyone else is out there, come say hi. Let us know where you're listening in from. And Mary, why don't we just jump into the signs, and you can take it away and let everyone kind of understand how's this eclipse going to hit them personally?
Thank you, Nicole. You're always so gracious. So let's start with sign number 1 in the measurable tropical zodiac. So Aries. So this eclipse and Saturn moving back into Pisces reminds you, dear Aries, Saturn and Neptune had shifted. I was talking about the A-team back when we were talking about Pluto started the year in still an early Aquarius. And then we had the shift between March and May of Saturn and Neptune going into your sign, Aries, going into Aries. Huge new opening cycle of like new paradigms and wisdoms and extraordinary, just the extraordinary, revelatory. So then we have this full moon. Now your big full moon, the big enchilada for you, Aries, yeah, full moon after this one. But this one is like a washing machine for you, Aries. So most people that I've known, no matter what brand it is, when the washing machine starts to act up, they call it, it's off balance. And so if we look at the Pisces energy for you, this full moon, there's something being washed. There's something being cleansed, and then it's going to go through a spin cycle. And then it's going, this is the spin cycle for you, Aries. And then it's going to fill up with water. And some machines now, they don't fill up with enough water, and it's aggravating the fire out of people online. They're like, what's wrong with these washers, and why can't we control the level of water? It barely goes over the clothes, which is the Virgo, the things that need to be washed. So the waters rise, and the water is a big part of cleansing, and that's what's going on for Aries right now. And so then there's another spin cycle. And then the machines make all these little songs, doo, 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 doo. You know, when your wash cycle is over, almost it's like, I'm not only letting you know, but if you got like an OCD mind and you got an earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, get up off your ass and come put the clothes in the dryer, go hang them out on the line because, hey, snap to it, get the chore done. Yeah, so those little alarms, those little sounds, those little sound bells and jingles and frequency exclamation points, that's what's going on the inside of you, Aries. And so think back, Aries, think back to 2 cycles. 19 years ago, we mentioned that, that 2006 into 2007 could have started to trigger your life into 2005. It's kind of an 18, 19-month cycle. And then also look back to September of last year. Look back to when we had that lunar eclipse in Pisces last year and how it had a fury to it, a real fury. A lot of people were watching what in the world is causing this stall of this Helene and Milton and all that, and the mud that came down from the mountains. So there's the avalanches, if you will. So the same thing happens in California, which is a Virgo incorporated state. Florida is a Pisces incorporated state. And so what's happening, and that's why a lot of Aries love the ocean and the beach, what's happening for you is it's a final chapter of what you're going to now give birth to between this full moon on the 7th, around this energy, the 7th, 8th, 9th, what you're giving birth to, what you're resurrecting into. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. In the beginning was the Word. So the energies that are happening right now, Aries, is what are you giving the command or the word or the affirmation to and setting your intentions to, whether it's self-talk or your external expressions. This is about you really being kinder to yourself, doing good holistic things for yourself, finding maybe your new essential oil, an herb that works for you, a tea that has a diffusion of wonderful little herbs and flowers. So for you, it's about, but mainly, there's an intensity of psychic ability. There's your intensity of projected delusions and fears. So just stay on the plus side of it, Aries. Like if you start to get scary clown stuff or cray-cray stuff, say, no. If that happened, I'm going to go find 1 or 2 words, and I'm going to say them that are going to be my new subconscious redirect words, the one I've been working with lately when my mind starts to go critical or too OCD, is like blessings, and I stop. And I do my breath work. All is now well with my soul. So find your own word. It's an easy, it's free kind of exercise that you can do to keep your, I think all signs can benefit from that, but it's especially poignant for Aries. If you're a Taurus, this Pisces energy and the Taurus, the mountains, the Taurus, the Capricorn, the Virgo, beautiful pastures and earth, the trees, the Taurus, the pastures, the energy of Taurus and the greenery of Mother Earth is about to start to prepare itself for the fire colors of autumn. And this eclipse in Pisces, and I might add, the 2 in Virgo are a sweet little kiss for you Tauruses, because it's about a lot of support in the 3D material world and the financial world and the corrections of things and the dynamic ability to jump over any potential, we don't want to give them power, any potential obstacles or hurdles. So the detours aren't necessarily a bad thing. It might be spirit just buying some time. If there's a delay or something gets stalled, that's not a bad thing. Doesn't mean it's a bad outcome. It's about spirit going, you know what, on Thursday, September 15th, that person would be answering this claim or this question or this dilemma legally rather than who's on right now. Oh, yeah, because they'll be taking a vacation 3 weeks from now, 2 weeks from now. So if we can be harbingers of faith, if we can be antennas of trust, and Taurus, you're very favored with both the Pisces and the Virgo. If we can take on, all of us, the energy of Taurus being blessed by this eclipse, for them to be the soft place to land, the reliable, predictable people in our life, we need to stop looking at them as boring. We need to stop looking at them as uninteresting, or they don't have enough thrills or chills or adrenaline shot out of their mouth or their ass. So the Taurus energy in all of our charts has to do with where we can find comfort with the period at the end of the sentence instead of the question, or the remaining exclamation point. It can even be a comma, although that's more Gemini. So for Taurus right now, it's 11th house, Uranus, bouncing around retrograde in Gemini. Will get some projects finished up. Maybe it was supposed to be a different worker, even though it dragged on too long. The energy effect of Mars going into Scorpio, things can get sultry and sensual. Sensual, to me, in my humble opinion, is always better than just sex. Sensual has so many possibilities and creativities rather than just wham bam. So sensual is coming with Mars and Scorpio. Sensual is when you may have had intimate relations with a bunch of people in a whole lot of different ways. But sensual is when you go, that's not an easy person to forget there. And it wasn't just because of their bedroom skills. That is an intriguing energy that came into my life and didn't want to hurt me, but pushed my buttons to help me look at me a little deeper. Mars and Scorpio, the Scorpio factor is the octopus. You know, it's the 8. Scorpio's the 8th sign. Scorpio's the Black Widow spider. Scorpio has to do with the scorpion creature that will literally sting itself first if it finds that it's losing a battle with another creature. So for Taurus right now, Mars going into Scorpio when we get around that 19th and 20th of the month is about what has to die, what do I need to bury within myself or externally to keep myself from being, here's a very Scorpio word, haunted again and again and again. So Gemini, it's 10th house, it's lively, it's producing results. It's that 10th house for the Gemini factor is about your mission statement, and maybe you're supposed to be a provider, maybe you're supposed to be a resolver, maybe you are to be the counselor, but for Gemini, it's about strategic maneuvering. And for Gemini, there's some things, there's some broken fences, or the dogs have dug out, or you can't quite connect with the people that you'd like to connect with, and maybe you could use a course correction in your own words and the things that you do or say about people. So Gemini, it might be that the words that you may be hollering at yourself, deep inside yourself about you or them and you, maybe you could say to yourself, why am I doing all this hot electrical voltage, high voltage chatting to myself, and then hear it quickly with that quick silver tongue, respond to it, especially in a coupleship, and then the other person kind of looks at them like, really, you want to do this in public? Really, we talked about this. And you can see that. You can see the SO, the significant other, look back at them like, oh, okay, here's the next point in our discussion when we get up in here, back home. So there's a dynamic of, instead of being in a push-pull with someone that matters to you, Gemini, I would say, I want you, don't do it unless you mean it, Gemini. I don't do it as a little exercise to gain advantage. I want you to feel heard in this friendship, in this intimacy. So I really want you, without abandon. Go ahead. If I feel like it's a judgmental thing, we'll correct that later on. We'll discuss that. But I really want you, as you're thinking it, as you're harboring it, I want you to speak to me about your current blocks or frustrations or concerns. Say it to me. I may not fully agree with you, because we may have both assumed and we may have both rendered judgment on some things without giving at least the person we're making the judgment about a chance to talk about it. So Gemini is always about talking about it, but they tend to talk so much to themselves or get caught up in the wondering of the equation that they can get a sidebar. So this is going to be clarity to Gemini. It'll come swift. It'll be quick. And you might find yourself going, oh, thought that was going to happen. That schedule just got rearranged. There's a lot of different things. And instead of we really needing to go through breaks or fracture or fault lines, maybe we could instead opt to have, with the Pisces influence, a breakthrough without having to break down. So if you're a Cancer, it's 9th house. This is philosophical, holistic soup. This is this is the hot chocolate in winter, if that's your thing. This is your favorite tea. So this is Jupiter's in Cancer. Mars is going to go into Scorpio. And what's happening with the Pisces full moon, the blood moon, the harvest moon, is it's saying, oh, my sweet little crabs and all your little pretty shells that are on the ground in the sand part of Mother Ocean. Mother Ocean is Pisces. She's everything that died. in those salt waters, the effluvia of life, the salt waters of the womb of our Earth Mother, Gaia. So the ocean is constantly the birth and the death, the birth and the death. So it has to do with the cleansing and the fortification. And you nailed it, Nicole, when you did the words, the mystical and the mundane. The mundane is the Virgo mechanics, and the mystical is the Pisces spirit. Is always within you, walking beside you, and will await your command to say, go before me, clear the way. So for Cancer right now, they're favored. It's a sweet spot. And I feel like that some interesting mentors and some writings, or did I say writings again? And some journaling and some dreams and things like that, although they may feel like they first arrive in jagged pieces of a Picasso or a Salvador Dali painting, they still are going to be integral parts. Like literally just don't try to make it fit in. If you've got a dream journal, just write down the symbol in the dream that seemed to be prevailing, or that one thing that just showed up in your life, you know, like a baby hawk that fell from the ground, or, you know, the dragonfly landing on your head, and it's like, that's unusual. So that kind of thing that snatches your attention is a totem medicine. Like this full moon has to do with the weeping willow and the fig tree. So if you're Leo, it's 8th house. Okay, Leo, there's some intensity that you've been kind of ignoring for a little while, because Mars has been bouncing around in Libra, and it spent a whole lot of time in Leo bouncing back and forth in retrograde with some challenges that went on last year, and then tried to crop up a little bit in the March period of this year. And so what's happening with you Leos is this is the infinity symbol. This is the 8th house. This is the natural house of Scorpio, with this full moon of the resurrection and the baptism and then immaculate conception. Because, you know, women do, you know, when they're carrying babies, there's like fluids and umbilical cords and placentas and wet things and moist things. So this has to do with the things that are mysteries and secretly growing and knowing in your world, Leo. And although there can be some incredible experiences and stories that come to you from you or those around you, your life is literally getting transformed as this eclipse ripens. But it hails back to March of this year, and whoever or whatever was on the edge of death, if a relationship was on the edge of a death, if you were bouncing back and you were alone against the world kind of a thing, this full moon allows you to leave the cross. This full moon is literally the magical energy words of, it is finished. Into thy hands I command my spirit. So what are we commanding our spirit into and onto? We receive and we get fortified, but then we also can cast out healing and magic as and if it's meant to be, according to the other person's soul allowances or contracts. Don't want to get too advanced on that. But there's a lot of stuff that's happening around Leo right now that has to do with, I could have let that go. I could have slammed that guillotine down. I could have died. That could have died. It did die. The way it used to be and what used to be died as of this full moon. It had to die. And so now that it's dead and you're still here, there's a part of you that's like, I will never let a person talk to me like that way again. I will not let people play games with me. Certainly doesn't have to be my way or the highway all the time, but to thine own self, I will be true. A lot of that going on with Leo right now. If you're a Virgo, it is your polarity sign, but you have some of the sting potentially taken off because you got 2 new moons. So that's 2 extra sun spotlights that go, you know what? The sun and the moon marry at the new moon. And so the sun and the moon marry 2 times this year in 2025. So I feel like that it's helping Virgos find strategic allies to be able to get the monkey off their back, to be able to free up things that used to keep them frozen, where they would get freezed up. This is what's going to be like the warming and the releasing. So it has everything to do with what I love to call the SOs, your significant others in business, in your personal life, the people that are iconic to you this lifetime and you want to prioritize. Virgos are going through that list and they're not allowing themselves to be giving their time or their energy to people that could be in some kind of way less than in the balance of the win-win. If you're a Libra, it's 6th house. Mars is in your sign. Things are just wild and woolly out there on certain dimensions. So if you're a Libra, best that you just focus, with Venus getting ready to shift from Leo into Virgo, best that you just focus on managing and flowing with your significant other and how that's affecting your health. So there's a cycle coming up, Libra, for you as we have the next full moon in Aries as we get to the equinox point in the third week of September. There's a cycle coming to you, Libra, that will actually show you how well you're doing with the amplification of Mars in your sign. So September 19th. So Libra, I'm going to keep it short and sweet with you. Focus on how you feel and what's being revealed between the 18th, 19th, into the 23rd of September. This particular full moon is your sixth house. So if there's stuff going on with your bowel movements or your digestion, low back pain kind of a thing, or you just find your bladder or kidneys a little UTI because you're literally pissed off inside, piss gets off, UTIs, bladder, kidney type of things. So when we get pissed off, the adrenals and the kidneys and the bladder, can get affected by that. So you might just need to do a kind of a detoxifying, more hydration, maybe check that your electrolytes are balanced. If you're Scorpio, it's fifth house. And oh boy, Scorpio, it's been 2 years since Mars has been in Scorpio. So welcome to the third week of September 2025. It's your ticket to ride. The full moon in Pisces is going, yeah, baby. The mermaids, they're going to protect you. We'll send out the sirens. That's the mean mermaids, the ones that drag the creepy, men on the ships, because they're getting too close to the mer kingdom. So the sirens go out and they sit on the rocks and they brush their hair with their fish backbone combs and their little topless selves, and they sit there, and the guy becomes bewitched, and the other sailors, the other pirates, like, no, that's not the good one. That's the siren's going to kill you. And he becomes hypnotized, and he gets in the hypnosis, psychosis, and she takes him and she lures him, just like someone has to put a hook on the line to get a fish out of the water. So she lures him, and the moment that she gets him, she drags him down to the bottom of the ocean. There are swamp and marsh mer people too, but she drags him down to the bottom of the ocean, and the whole time, because he's under that spell, she was kind of nice to him before she finished him off. And so she takes him down to the bottom of the ocean, and he says, she was pretty. Even though he got warned, even though some people had eyes that see and could recognize it was a sea witch, she won't take him away because she's that Rottweiler, she's that pit bull, she's that German Shepherd that says, she's that Malinois that says, you're getting too close to my kingdom and you're not welcome here. Get out or I'll take you out. So there's some of that comes around with the scorpionic type of energy is like, and what Scorpios are saying with the favor of Jupiter and Cancer and the Virgo energies and Mars getting ready to go into their sign, what Scorpios are saying is, if it's for me, it knows my face. It recognizes me. It's like in the Avatar movie when the blue-skinned Avatar alien lady warrior says, I see you. I see all of you. I see all that you are. I see you. So this is that Avatar, those theme musics of Avatar. That's what this is for Scorpio. Your Sagittarius, it's fourth house. Sagittarius, the fourth house, according to a lot of the European astrologers I read and studied under and went to conferences with, the fourth house has to do with the true mission of the soul. One of my favorite writers, I believe she was a Sagittarius, she's since helping us in spirit, Isabel Hickey, wrote a book that was woo-woo at the time, but yet it was accepted called Astrology, a Cosmic Science. It is the best astrological textbook that I've ever come across that blended easy to understand reincarnational, mystical aspects into the rising sign and the planets, like the higher purpose of that planet sign combo. Astrology, a Cosmic Science, Isabel Hickey. And she came up because I'm pretty sure, if my memory serves me well, and I got a good memory, that she's a Sagittarius. So Sagittarius right now, the fourth house has to do with your anchors, the people that literally are part of your medicine circle, your tribal circle. It isn't always our biological family. It very often can be the sister that you may not have had or you may have had biologically, but then the one that comes that's got your back, has your six, holds the sword, holds the quiver and the arrow so you can go ahead, oh great centaur, the Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is like the Robin Hood, the pirate, Gemini, Sag, good archetypes for that. And it's in your fourth house that says, and where do you feel at home? And right now, Sagittarius, you have a gift to help somebody's soul go home. You have the gift to be able to get somebody's soul back comfortable while they're here home on their earth walk. So there's a lot of miraculous miracles and wonders. These are the days of miracle and wonders. And I believe Sagittarius is going to be an integral part of that. If you're a Capricorn, it's third house. That's your neighborhood. That's your community. That's the social gatherings that you would want to be a part of or that you would want to create. And the third house has to do also with how you're structuring the book, how you're putting the words out, how your lawyer may say this, and your insurance person and your accountant or CEO may say that. But the third house is about what's the main driving message. And Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, really didn't want to put a lot of fluff into it. It's just like, don't waste my time. Saturn, Chronos time, they're ruled by Saturn. Don't waste my time. Get to the point, and it'll work. If it's the right point, it'll work. And so even though I might not be having an easy day, this is Capricorn, you give me a good idea, you give me a good strategic opportunity, and I will look at you and I will nod going, that's good. Thank you. That's good. So Capricorn is like, just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. And especially with this full moon going into third house, I will tell you, if you're Capricorn listening to this, some of the most incredible, shape-shifting, life-altering conversations, counseling sessions, dream images that you journal. Oh, there we are, journaling and writing again. Uranus is in Gemini, and Mercury rules these eclipses in Virgo. So this has a lot to do, the two new moons in Virgo. This has a lot to do with how it's said, why it's said, and the intention arrow that you wish to send. Almost to you, Pisces. So Aquarius, the 11th sign, it's in your second house. So Pisces is one of the houses of value, the second and the 8th house for the sign Aquarius. You have Pluto there, and Mars is in Libra. That's favoring you, and Uranus is in Gemini. So the air sign element, there's a lot of great whirlpool spin zones of ideas that are coming out there that be able to give us healthier options, more specificity, and what we really should be taking less of more. Right now, medications will drop, alternative ways that we can get over an addiction or a habit. So Aquarius is interested in that. Aquarius could be a part of that. And so Aquarius is looking at the maneuverability and the wisdom keeping and ability to shift an entire room by what they can add value to, and therefore help people get value, help people afford it, and also be able to build a business or the foundation of, do you find value in this? I'm opening up the room for a live chat or discussion. What would you find value in right now? And it's as if Aquarius is doing a little bit of a marketing survey. But it could be, I mean, if I had a lot of Aquarius in my chart, I'd be going and getting one of them little $2 or $5 scratch and sniff lottery tickets, the kind of little scratch the little numbers off. I'd probably do that because for a $2 or a $5 investment, you've already won, even if you get another one that says free ticket. The universe winked at you. So if all the signs right now, if I were you, I might play that a little bit if I was a Taurus or an Aquarius. And Pisces. This is, without a doubt, March coming in number 2, believe it or not. This is the number 1 pivotal point, paradigm shifting, adrenaline rush, faith over fear, full moon, 2 new moons in your opposite sign of Virgo. This is a game changer. And literally it comes down to, what will you release? What do you feel is rejecting you? It's not your stronghold anymore. You know, the Bible even talks about when we get strongholds in our mind, that we have to get past these strongholds in our mind. That, you know, why does that have such a strong hold on me? Why do I seem like I go into a mental prison with that one? That's just creepy. Why do I keep going there? What's my curiosity here? Don't criticize yourself or blame yourself or condemn yourself, but be willing to say, isn't it interesting that I tend to automatic pilot go here and think that this is the main or the only option I've got to course correct? It's not. Hint, it's not. But don't debase yourself and don't condemn yourself in order to realize that it doesn't have to always be, hey, dumbass, you're still going to do it the hard way. How long are you going to have to do it the hard way? Don't do that to yourself. Just simply say, I've had a tendency to act like this and choose those kind of options of behavior and patterns when those kind of challenges come up in my life. Let me just take a pause. Has that served me well most of the time, or has that, when I get to that point, has that been the deal breaker moment? So you can kind of get out of the extremes. So as a Pisces, I love, like Nicole talked about, I love this Piscean thing is compassion, it's survival after grief. It's the ability to alchemize the whole thing. And a lot of people that have impressed me so far this lifetime are people that went through unknowable loss and grief and me watching them then come back from these painful experiences, like physically and psychologically, and took them to the absolute bend me in half breaking point, and they came back with, you know what? I know what matters in my life now, and I'm going to volunteer, or I'm going to be a part of that belief or that meaning. And I'm not talking cultish, and I'm not talking judging anybody else that doesn't see it or believe it like I do, but like the X-ray technician I met in 2012. And when I had to get some X-rays, when I went into him and I said, just curious, what made you choose this line of work? It's kind of like a mental distraction for me because my arm hurts and I'm going to get X-rays. And he said, I had a bad skiing accident and I literally fractured all of my arm parts and my legs. And I said to myself, if I come back from that, I will be the person that will learn how to give X-rays without hurting people. I will listen to them instead of being focused on getting the X-rays so the doctor doesn't criticize me. I will be on their side. I will be their advocate. And I'm like, damn, that's sweet. That's a sweet spot. Totally took away my concerns that I'd have to bend in or pull back and it was going to hurt again because it had already hurt enough that year. So when we go through those fault lines and those emotional earthquakes and the things that literally snap and break, I'm like, damn, that's gonna hurt a little bit and I'm gonna have to come back from that. Pisces is the comeback. Pisces is believing is what you'll see. Will you just take a pause and look at and bow to? What are you bowing to? What are you willingly giving your power over to? What are you honoring? What are you saying? This is what sustains me. This is what inspires me. This is what I know I have a gift to go out there and make a difference with. And will you be, here comes the Virgo part of it, and will you be already the change that you're seeking in the world? Gandhi's favorite, famous quote, be the change that you seek in the world. Gandhi, a Libra, Mars is in Libra. So be the change that you seek by your character, and you're taking a stance and you're going, nope, you can go do what you want to do. That's not for me. Yeah, I know. Stop trying to convince me. Hard pass. Mahalo. No. No is a complete sentence. So the Virgo gives us the ability of when to say no. And Pisces is, I have faith and I'm so grateful for the things that I now am able to not wonder or try to figure out, or can I get some confirmation or some validation? The Pisces is, I have a knowing on that now. I put myself through trial and error and test and fires of faith that this is what I know. I don't know everything, but these are the things thus far in my life walk and in my work that I know. And I am so grateful for the tools of knowing that keep me from the edge of the cliff to where I would fall and hurt myself again. And now I can fly and I can help others be lifted up. That, to me, is the best resurrection, awakening gift that I can ever hope to do for anybody that ever knows me, hears my words, or shares and breaks bread with Nicole and I, or Joe and I, or Kev Baker and I, or anybody else's podcast that I go on. I do these things pro bono. I do these things gratis, for free, because everything that came to me was a blessing and a gift from so many teachers and voices. Why wouldn't I want to do a big part of my business to where it would be a tithe and for free? Because freely given is also abundantly blessed.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Mary, for coming on every month to deliver such a wonderful transmission of every lunar transit that is full. We do love our full moons. And on that note, if you are feeling called to have a reading, eclipse season is always a great time to get a reading or to check in because things are changing for sure. This year in itself is just a massive year of change. And it's happening at very, very rapid rates, which makes it almost overwhelming and hard to digest at times. So sometimes if you need a reading, that might be the greatest thing to do. And Mary's information is in the show notes below. And of course, if you're listening on the podcast, it's in the show notes there. And as an announcement, if you're not on my email list, you may not know, but I just launched my new group coaching program. I had taken it off for a while and I've relaunched it, and it's now called the Velocity Vault. And in the Velocity Vault, you will get access to group coaching, the Velocity Oracle herself, and so many more things. So if you're interested in that, I haven't got the link down below just yet, but I will pop it in as soon as I get off this video. And of course, if you're interested and you can't find it, just send me an email with the word vault in the subject heading and I will send you the link. Also, we have the 3-day 180 retreat coming up this month. Okay, right after that new moon solar eclipse in Virgo, that's going to be a big one, okay? And it's going to have, as Mary said, a ripple effect into next year. What were you saying, like February, March, potentially?
March.
So,
minimum
yeah.
March.
Minimum March. Yeah, 6 months typically for solar, but you know, sometimes they have a bigger bang to it. And this Virgo one definitely has all of the right things, especially being on the 29th degree. So, if you're interested in coming to change your life in 3 days or less, there is no better place to do it than the 3-day 180 retreat. If you're looking to come into the mountains, get some fresh air, see all the leaves changing colors, it's the best time to be in Colorado, hands down. I love being in the mountains at this time. It is September 25th to the 28th. We'd love to have you join myself and Consuelo, who will be on the show in a couple of weeks as well. She's got another major announcement to make. And otherwise, guys, I love you so much. Take care of yourself during this lunar eclipse, which is happening on the 7th, right, Mary? It's the 7th of September?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, but it's got to bloom. It's got to bloom from like we're feeling it now, but we'll really feel it between the tidal wave starts the 6th and goes on into the 13th. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's exact on the 7th.
Yeah. So keep your eyes out for that. And of course, don't let this be a time where you shy away from the thing that really calls to you, that speaks to you. This is the time to take a leap of faith, to drop into the unknown and find out how you might be surprisingly supported more than you were expecting. We love you guys. Thank you, Mary, for being on the show. We will see you next month for our lunar eclipse in Aries, full moon. Guys,